Ike, are we going to have to do this all year? Is this what it's going to be like with these close finishes? I mean, let's go back. We'll go back to the Super Bowl in 2017. Obviously ends in a Hail Mary, big jubilation. Season opener against the Falcons comes down to a fourth down play at the goal line. A first down play, I should say, after the penalty. Ronald Darby pushes Julio Jones out of bounds. They're able to get the win. And here, first you have the fourth down and short situation short of the goal line. And Derek Barnett comes up with a huge sack. Well, the Colts get one more opportunity. They get the ball in midfield. And Jacoby Brissett comes in with a stronger arm than Andrew Luck, fires the ball down the field to the back of the end zone, and the ball tips up in the air and finally falls to the ground incomplete. The Eagles escape with a 20-16 victory over the Indianapolis Colts to improve to 2-1 on the season. Welcome to the Postgame Show presented by Ricoh. I'm Chris McPherson. Alongside Ike Reese, we can now exhale, Eagles fans.
I'll tell you, as long as they end in this fashion with the results being the Eagles get the W,
Correct.
I'm okay with it. It makes for a great day of football. And this was a sloppy one. You knew the weather was going to play a part in this game. Carson making his first return, you knew it would be some rust factor there, although able to take his first drive down for a touchdown, and then the scoring really stalled for both teams. You know, you got to give this Indianapolis Colts team a lot of credit. We don't get a chance to see them very often, but this is a team that's not necessarily known for their offense right now. Their defense has been playing pretty well. They played well last week in Washington, holding Washington to 9 points, and then today they made it tough on the Eagles today, coming up with big turnovers at key times.
Indeed. Eagles, 7 straight wins now over AFC South opponents. Again, they get to 2-1 on the season. But how fitting is it that on a day when 2 members of the Gang Green defense, in Seth Joyner and Clyde Simmons, are inducted into the Eagles Hall of Fame, the defense comes up huge in a big way. First of all, they wanted to make up for last week's disappointing effort against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and limit those explosive big play touchdowns. Twice, the Colts had short field after Carson Wentz turnovers, 1 an interception, 1 a fumble, and the Eagles both times were able to hold the Colts to Adam Vinatieri field goals, making sure the game stayed close until Wendell Smallwood came up with the game-winning 4-yard touchdown run late in the fourth quarter. But again, twice the Eagles had to hold after that. And knowing that in the first game back for Carson Wentz, you didn't expect the fireworks. So I think everyone's expectations got kind of blown out of proportion after that opening drive when he went 5 of 7, all passes to tight ends, all receptions made by the tight ends, capped off by Dallas Goedert, who hauled in his first career touchdown reception. And it looked so beautiful, pristine, and surgical. You just felt, wow, the man is back. The general is back. This is what the spark that the Eagles needed, and they're going to be able to take it from here and take flight. But, Ike, after that drive, did you notice anything in particular that the Colts were able to do to stymie the Eagles' offense and not allow them to get into that rhythm again?
Well, the biggest thing is they didn't fear the Eagles wide receivers. I mean, that was the biggest thing. And the fact that the Eagles didn't necessarily push the ball down the field, we really started playing football in a phone booth. And so what I mean by that is basically if you don't threaten that you can go deep, then those safeties are going to start creeping closer to the line, the linebackers as well. And you saw on that interception, they started getting a read on where Carson was going with the football. He jumped that, the linebacker jumped that pass to Zach Ertz, and that was a huge interception there. But the Eagles are going to have to figure out how to start getting the ball to the wideouts and, more importantly, start pushing the ball down the field a little bit.
Yeah, so that's going to be the biggest challenge for this Eagles offense. Now, certainly you figure with Carson Wentz, he's getting back into the rhythm of things. He'll want to take his shots down the field. He's someone who will pull the trigger, but he's going to need the pass protection. And the Eagles really struggled with the looping and the stunting that the Colts did, the delayed blitzes. Darius Leonard was a beast all throughout the course of the game. Marcus Hunt caused a lot of problems in the backfield, lining up both at end and tackle. From both spots, he was wreaking havoc for this Colts defense here today. And that, I think, made things difficult for Carson Wentz when he would try to get things going, not knowing where those rushers were coming from. And I think, really, that's where you miss someone like a Darren Sproles, okay? The Eagles were without Jay Ajayi. They didn't have Darren Sproles once again due to injury today. So what Darren Sproles is very good at is pass protection from the backfield. And Corey Clement, Wendell Smallwood, and Josh Adams, they did well offensively, being able to help move the ball both in the running game and the receiving game. But in pass protection at times, there were some breakdowns, and it led to some free rushes there on Carson Wentz. He took his shots, and fortunately, we all, I think, were holding our breath for that first time that he would get hit. But each and every time he bounced up, showing no worse for wear.
Oh, yeah. I mean, listen, you got to be excited about what you saw from Carson Wentz today. With his first game being back, I think we got a chance to see his full repertoire other than throwing the ball deep to someone. But he took hits in the pocket. He was able to keep plays alive with his legs. I mean, look just like he did last year. And that's a good thing because like you said, you're going to be a little worried when you first see him get hit. But the way he played today, it was good to see because that lets you know he's 100% healthy and ready to roll. Yeah.
All right. So in a short time, later on in the show, we're going to hear from head coach Doug Peterson, and we will hear from quarterback Carson Wentz, and we'll also break down the biggest plays of the game in our Ricoh review, and we'll also offer our nominees for the Toyota Player of the Week and some good candidates for that award this week here. So as we break down the numbers from this game, looking from Carson Wentz and the running game, it was interesting how they were able to get contributions across the board. I mentioned once again, no Ajayi, no Sproles out there today. So Smallwood actually picking up, being able to pick up the load for the offense there from the backfield, leading the team in rushing. Corey Clement doing things of both running and receiving, and Josh Adams helping out as well. Yeah,
I thought Wendell had his best game in a long time as an Eagle. May have had his best game as an Eagle, period. Was big in the run game, was big in the passing game as well, catching the ball, coming out of the backfield. Really ran with a lot of authority today, ran hard, picked up some tough yardage, was able to get key first downs late in that game, and then obviously getting a go-ahead score late in the game. Really impressed with the way Wendell Smallwood ran the ball today.
Yeah, the yards after the contact, the biggest thing that you saw from Smallwood out there today. Let's send it over now to Lincoln Financial Field. We're going to bring in the insider, Dave Spadero and Amy Campbell. And Dave, your thoughts watching this game? Carson Wentz coming back after missing, the first couple of games of the season. I think it was 288 days since that start against the Rams. Your thoughts on his outing here today as he helped lead the Eagles to a 20-16 win?
Well, Chris, thank you so much. We've got a lot to talk about, Amy and I. We're going to start on we're still catching our breath, first of all, the crowd filing out of Lincoln Financial Field. Another barn burner here at the Link. Let's begin with the offense. Some thoughts that what you saw here, Carson Wentz and the running game in the middle of the field getting it going.
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting that no receivers were targeted until almost near the end of that first half there. This is a good win for Carson Wentz in his first game back. You expect there to be some bumps on offense, especially with this weather today, having it kind of be the way it is. Eagles dominated in time of possession and in yards on offense, and yet it was a 4-point game. So obviously the miscues there, the mistakes, the penalties kind of got him, but to come out with a W for Wentz on his first game back and the way they got it done. And Dave, I got to give you credit on your Dallas Goedert prediction.
Yes,
right
I did.
There.
My bold prediction nailed. A couple things here. The Eagles' another fourth quarter comeback victory.
Yeah.
Success in the red zone. They used Corey Clement and Wendell Smallwood effectively. Yeah. I thought it was a chance for Wendell to earn the trust of the coaching staff, and he did that. Yeah. And then the middle of the field, the way that Zach and Dallas controlled the middle of the field, very impressive. Now, Carson Wentz, great mobility, tremendous energy on the sidelines early in the game, kind of lulled. They picked up the tempo late. But for Carson, daring, Amy, aggressive, it clearly did not hold back.
Yeah, great to see him really physically looking like his old self there. And of course, mentally, it's going to take a little bit more time for him to get that rhythm. But physically, like you said, aggressive, I think that's a really good sign for him and for this team.
Now, the defense holding down the Colts for much of the game. 2 Wentz turnovers, resulting in only 6 Colts points. And then Derek Barnett steps up late in the fourth quarter. And then the Hail Mary from Jacoby Brissett to the back of the end zone falls incomplete. This defense is relentless, Amy. They're relentless, and at home, absolutely terrific.
Yeah, I think an eraser is kind of the way that I was thinking about it, especially like you mentioned, seeing those Wentz turnovers kind of deep in their own territory, only those turning into 6 points instead of 14. Huge for this defense.
So the rain has stopped. The sky's clearing up a bit. Chris, back to you at the NovaCare Complex. Time to go into the locker room and see how this team feels at 2-1 after another nail-biter.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Dave and Amy. And again, you can read Dave's On the Inside column featuring Carson Wentz's outing today, as well as listen to the Eagles Live podcast, which will be available later on this evening. And we'll talk more about the defense here. How difficult is it when you know that a team like the Colts or Andrew Luck came into this game averaging fewer than 6 yards per attempt? I think in the AFC, I think Tyrod Taylor and Blaine Gabbert were the only quarterbacks in the conference with a lower yards per attempt. But you know at some point they're going to take their chances deep. So it's almost like you're lulled into thinking it's going to be short play, short play, short play. And at some point with a Pro Bowl wideout like T.Y. Hilton who can stretch a defense, you know they're going to take their shot. Yeah. How difficult is it almost waiting for that moment to happen?
You got to be prepared, and you're right. You never know when it's going to happen. You certainly have to do your homework, and you understand that the offense isn't an explosive offense. They want to get the ball out of Andrew Luck's hands quickly as possible. I think that's really why his yards per attempt are down, is because they don't want him sitting back there holding the football, taking hits. But in inclement weather like it was today, there are going to be times where he had to hold the ball. And you saw late in the game, he was able to get the ball down the field when he needed to. So it certainly isn't necessarily because he doesn't have the arm strength, although they did bring in Jacoby Brissett late in the game to throw the Hail Mary. As a defense, you just have to make sure you stay sharp. You can't fall asleep out there because, like you said, with a guy like T.Y. Hilton lined up across from you, you know he has the ability to get down the field.
Indeed. He was testing Jalen Mills a couple times, 2 pass interference penalties. I thought Mills was much more aggressive, much more physical with his tackling. Tackling was a big thing for the Eagles today because you're getting a lot of short passes in the open field. Thought Ronald Darby did a good job, Sidney Jones as well. You have to limit those plays and make sure that that 5-yard catch, sort of like what happened with the O.J. Howard touchdown against Tampa Bay last week. Yeah. It's a 15-yard reception over Mill that turned out to become a 75-yard touchdown. You have to stop and make those plays.
I'd say the other thing I noticed, being in the stadium watching Jalen play, he switched up how he defended the wide receivers. He didn't play off coverage all the time. Sometimes he went up on the line of scrimmage. Even when he was lined up across from T.Y. Hilton, he didn't mind getting up there and being physical at the line of scrimmage. And that's what he's going to have to do as a corner. You can't play afraid to get beat over the top. You got to give these wide receivers a different look, mix it up for them. And I thought he did a nice job of that today. And when he was up on the line of scrimmage, he was physical with T.Y. And there were a couple times where he's running stride for stride with T.Y. out there. So yep. I thought he played much better today than he did last week, and mixing up how he was going to play his coverages.
You could actually say on both pass interference penalties, he was in position to make the play.
Yeah.
He just ended up, drawing some contact and it got called for the flag. But both times, it wasn't like he was getting beat so bad that he had to hold the guy to restrict his movement there. It was just a matter he had to get himself, from a technique standpoint, in a better position to knock down the pass instead of hitting the receiver in the process. But overall, I thought much more physical, like you said, much more aggressive today. I remember talking to him earlier this week, and he just said he just wasn't himself last week. And you saw that across the board from the defense. It just didn't seem like they were up to the task, whether it was the weather, whether it was they took the Bucs lightly, which is a possibility. They knew that even though this Colts offense was limited, now they didn't have Jack Doyle in there, they didn't have Marlon Mack, their top running back. So across the board, they're dealing with injuries. Anthony Costanzo, their starting left tackle, is out as well. But still, they knew they had to help the offense out because they didn't want Carson Wentz to have to be Superman in his first game back. It was great that the Eagles got off to the early start, the fast start there, where they got the 3-and-out on defense, give the ball to Carson. He drives down the field, goes 5 of 7, throws a touchdown pass to Dallas Goedert. And for most of the game, the Eagles are in the driver's seat, unlike the first 2 weeks where they're having to play catch-up early on.
Yeah, you look at those numbers right there, and you would think the Eagles completely dominated the Colts today, but penalties got in the way. I thought the defense did an excellent job. Both times the fields got changed on them, and they had to go out there with their backs up against the wall, against the goal line to hold the Colts to field goals as opposed to giving up touchdowns. That's really why we were able to win this game today, because if you give up touchdowns off those 2 turnovers, now the Colts, that's 12 extra points that you're looking at least. And with the way the offense was struggling to put the ball in the end zone, we may have a different outcome today. So I thought the defense, once they got Sutton changed, they had to go out there. The Colts already basically in field goal position, and for the defense to hold them to field goals as opposed to giving up touchdowns, that was huge, including that last drive where, the Colts, they took the ball down the field, and you wish the coverage would have been a little bit tighter. But, again, with their backs against the goal line, they were able to keep the Colts out of the end zone.
The biggest thing is if they get one of those touchdowns off the turnovers, they don't need a touchdown at the end of the game.
It's a field goal.
That's the biggest thing right
exactly,
there.
Yeah.
That changes the end of the game situation more than anything else. Now, the Eagles got the lead with a 4-yard touchdown run by Wendell Smallwood, who actually tied with Corey Clement to be the game's leading rusher. And Smallwood also had a huge 35-yard catch out of the backfield on a wheel route that we've seen from the likes of Todd Gurley and others throughout the course of this season. And I believe we'll actually break it down later on in the show. But Eagles insider Dave Spadaro caught up with Smallwood, one of the heroes of the game, over at Lincoln Financial Field.
Running back Wendell Smallwood, the winning points, touchdown run, 56 rushing yards. Let's go into the huddle, that last drive. What was it like?
Hey, the line just told me they was going to get me in there. They told me just run the ball hard. Now they moved the line for me. I got in the end zone.
Good job the entire running game. How did it feel out there, Wendell? Did you feel you were winning the line of scrimmage?
I think we were winning the line of scrimmage the whole game. Every running back dominated. I think we took that workload. We had 2 guys down, and we kind of stepped it up today.
To win the way this team won, what does it say about the Eagles?
It shows a lot. It shows how much we fight. We play to that clock hit 0, and we gonna do whatever that we gotta do to get them wins.
Wendell Smallwood, congratulations. Thanks, man.
All right, there's Wendell Smallwood again. We're going to hear from Coach Doug Peterson as well as quarterback Carson Wentz in just a little bit. But I like that quote at the end because this time of year, again, Carson Wentz making his season debut. You're missing 2 of your top running backs. You're missing Alshon Jeffrey. Mike Wallace and Mac Hollins are on IR. You're just trying to figure out what the team is going to be, what the identity of this franchise is going to be here in 2018. Any win you can get at this point in the year is golden as you're just trying to stack them up to get yourself ready for the months of October and November. Because certainly Carson Wentz is going to come in tomorrow. He's going to watch the film, realize the mistakes he's made, and obviously pick up his game to another level going next week when the Eagles have to travel down to Nashville to take on the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah, I mean, that's what this league is all about. It's a week-to-week league, and I know it sounds cliche when coaches use these sort of terms, but that's what it is, man. It is a week-to-week league, and the only objective you have is to come out of the week 1-0. That's what you want to do. It doesn't matter how pretty the wins are. There's no such thing as an ugly win. The win is a win. So, I mean, there's no such thing as a pretty loss. Yeah. So you want to get the win regardless of what it looks like. And the good thing for this team is that they have championship medal, and they aren't going to just be satisfied with the way they played today. They're going to certainly go look at the film. They expect more of themselves. But when you look at the offensive side, the biggest thing that stood out to me was that final drive that they scored on. They got the ball with 14 minutes and something to go in the fourth quarter. They ate up over 11 minutes, a 17-play drive over 11 minutes to get the go-ahead touchdown. That's championship football right there.
17 plays, 75 yards in, as you said, 11-18.
That's unheard of to have an 11-minute drive.
Well, look at the difference in time of possession, 40 minutes to 19 and change.
2-1. And that's how the Eagles won games last year. They led the league in time of possession, picking up first downs. And listen, they aren't beating you with explosive plays. They certainly have got to their fair share of third downs in those drives, but they converted on them. Doug knew when to go for it on fourth down, things of that nature. And they just refused on that final drive to come off the field without 6 points. And you could see the determination in Carson, some of the plays that he made with guys hanging on his legs, him trying to escape sacks. Man, it was really a hard-fought type of win out there today. They took everything that the Colts threw at them today, and they responded.
And it's an interesting Colts team because you mentioned they gave Washington more than it could handle a week ago, beating up on them. The previous week, they could have beaten Cincinnati.
Yeah.
They were in position at the end of the game to be right there and coming up just short. But yet you look at the numbers, and offensively, nothing explosive whatsoever. A very young defense, but they fly around the football. It's a Dallas scheme with Matt Eberflus, taking over as a coordinator and kind of bringing in what he learned from Dallas. So a lot of the same things you'll see there with the Cowboys in terms of a pressure standpoint. But still, you just didn't know what to expect because it's not a familiar opponent. It's not a division rival. It's not a conference rival. You're playing pretty much every year. This is a team that you haven't seen in 4 years.
I got to be honest, the game sort of played out how I thought it would. You're talking about 2 coaching staffs, particularly with Frank Reich as the head coach. They know each other. right?
That's the X factor right there.
They know
Indeed.
each other, and the one advantage Frank Reich had is that he actually knows the personnel of the Eagles, and by that I mean he knows the strengths and the weaknesses of guys on the defensive side of the football. So you knew that this wasn't going to be some blowout win for the Eagles. Carson's first game back, you got rain pouring down. You knew the scoring was going to be low, and it really was going to boil down to who took care of the ball the best. Eagles gave up 2 turnovers, but luckily their defense only allowed 2 field goals, didn't allow those turnovers to convert into touchdowns. And I thought the game was going to be a tightly contested game. You know, the Colts defense I think is very underrated when you look at how they play. And listen, you'll take the win any way that you can get the win. We pretty much came out of the game healthy, I believe, other than Rodney McLeod.
Is the one question.
Rodney McLeod, but Carson and the way that he played today makes you excited about next week.
All right, let's send it over to Coach Pearson at the link.
Both your wins now. What stands out about that group down there?
Gosh, it's a group that just, they bow their neck when they have to. And I think it's 2 for 10, 2 out of 10 last, for the Atlanta game and at home anyway, that our defense has stopped. So it's they understand sense of urgency down there. They understand that things can happen faster, balls out faster. Space is obviously limited down there, so it's an advantage defense a little bit. And they play well. I mean, it's been one of the positives on defense.
You guys scored touchdowns on your first drive and your last drive. And a couple of players in there said that there's a magic when Carson's in there. Not to denigrate what Nick has done, but what was it like having him back, and what did you think of his performance?
Well, it was exciting to get him back out there, and all week really. It started back on Tuesday, with our walkthrough and stuff, and then the whole week just seeing him. Just how he got in the huddle, talking to the guys, communicating with the skill guys throughout the game today, and just kind of getting back to his old self. And again, like always, we'll evaluate. I know he would probably want to get the fumble back, he'd want the pick back, and things like that, and those are things that can't happen, especially when our backed up on our end of the field. But I thought overall he did some nice things, moved around well, extended some drives for us, whether he was running or escaping the pocket and making some plays down the field. But I thought for the first time back, not too bad.
There seemed to be several plays where maybe a year ago or 2 years ago, Carson might have tucked it and run, as opposed to like hitting Dallas Goedert a couple of times, hitting the running back a couple of times. Do you think the knee has anything to do with that? Do you think that's natural maturity? Do you agree with that observation?
I don't think it's the knee at all. I think it's just maturity of playing the position and seeing the field, and it comes from playing, and he did that several times today. Dumped it off into the flat, got positive, 8 yards, 10 yards, whatever, and that just comes from playing and just the maturity of playing the position over time.
When you see your quarterback diving into the sideline for that first down, what's going through your mind in the second quarter?
Well, for me, I was standing right there. I mean, it was definitely, obviously, a safe dive. There was no contact other than him hitting the ground, really, and that's just him. I mean, that's the aggressive nature that he plays with, and those are types of plays that, you just, you just make, you just do. It's just instinct, and it's something you don't coach, and it was a great play, great way to get a first down and keep us on the field.
Doug, it didn't appear that obviously he worried, didn't even think about the injury. How important is it for a quarterback who comes off an injury to go out there and just be who he was before? It seemed that way anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important. I don't want to, put, restraints on him at all and put him in bubble wrap. And that's not how we play the game. It's not how he plays the game. And he wants to be, just as aggressive on the field too. And so I don't think about it that way. I just want to, do what's right for obviously him, but for the offense and the other guys out there that are straining their bodies to just execute one play. But I thought he, protected himself pretty well today.
Early in the game, I think Carson's first 7 targets or so were to tight ends, and he played a lot of 13. What made you think that was the way to go going into the game?
Just by scheme, we felt like with our 3 tight ends that gives us a little bit of a personnel advantage. Teams want to play, a base defense. They eventually went to nickel defense, and we still had some success doing that. Then we began to run the ball. Just bigger people, athletic people on the field. It really worked for us on the the opening drive, and just wanted to get the quarterback in a rhythm too, with that. But part of the plan, part of this game plan was to do some of that in this game.
You spoke after the last game about wanting big plays on offense. You had to really put together long drives. I think the final drive was a 16-play drive. Is that good enough for you, or do you want to have more explosive plays?
Well, again, we'll take a look at the film. I mean, you definitely want more. I mean, it goes without saying. You'd love to score, 5-play drives and put yourself in the end zone, but sometimes it doesn't happen that way. And again, without evaluating the tape and seeing whether we miss somebody or protection breakdown or whatever it is, stuff we can fix, then we can continue to stay aggressive there. We had some opportunities. We made some plays down the field. Ertz had a couple nice ones. Dallas had a couple. Wendell had a nice long pass in there. So, we're getting them. We just got to make sure that we continue to stay aggressive. And obviously, as a play caller, I gotta call the play.
On that 16-play drive, what was the key?
Just the resiliency of the offense, quite honestly. Offensive line began to dominate a little bit at that point. Wendell, Corey running extremely hard, and then we were fortunate a couple penalties went our way and extended a couple of those drives. But it's just just a team effort at that particular time.
Facing Frank Reich, were there things that you didn't do that you thought he might diagnose? Were there things that you think he diagnosed today that sort of blew up for you? What was it like facing a guy that you'd been so close to the last couple of years and having it play out?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. A lot of fun getting a chance to visit with him before the game, and we were aware of a couple of things that he might pick up on, whether it be by formation or personnel, and kind of vice versa with us, with their offense, and really, quite honestly, once you're into the heat of the battle, you're into the game. You're just focused on calling the next play and executing that next play, and trying to score. And I know he was the same way. But he's got a good football team. He's got a great quarterback. Obviously, they're going to win a ton of games, and it was fun to play against him.
Smallwood fell down the depth chart after the trade last year. What made you trust him today in that situation with 2 guys out?
Darren Sproles and Jay Ajayi weren't playing. No. I mean, listen. Wendell has always impressed me. I mean, he's worked extremely hard. He's really improved his craft and put himself in a position to help us. And he did it again in training camp this year and in the first part of this season. And you got to have guys like that. Might be role players, but you know what? Their role is pretty big in games like this when your 2 top guys are down in the backfield. And along the same lines, I thought Josh stepped in and made some nice runs too. So we continue, because they also play special teams. We continue to rotate guys and make sure they're fresh throughout the game.
Dallas Goedert had a big game. Was that because you saw matchups, because of necessity, considering the injuries that you're dealing with and the depth issues, or because he's earned it, because he's progressed to this degree?
I really think it's a little bit all that, what you just said. He's earned it, obviously. He's smart. He's talented. We see it in practice. And it's just time to play, and cut him loose a little bit and don't keep him back. And so it was part of the game plan again to do that with 2 tight ends, 3 tight ends, but at the same time, as he gets more and more comfortable with the offense and find specific plays for him, he's just going to get better and better. And it's a combination really of all those comments.
You mentioned the committee at running back without Jay and Darren. What gives you the confidence? Other coaches might shorten their bench, so to speak, but you still went with the 3 guys, Wendell, Josh. What gives you the confidence in those guys?
I trust Deuce during the week to make sure that those guys are prepared. I trust the players that they're doing their jobs to make sure they understand the game plan. And really, I talk a lot about it takes all 53, and then of course it takes the 46 on game day. Whoever dresses is going to play, and these first 3 games, it's really come down to everybody's had to play, and this is the National Football League, and Again, I'm not going to hold a player back just because he's a rookie or he doesn't have enough experience. It's our job as coaches to coach him up, and to get him ready and prepared. And so the next time Josh is in this situation, each time gets a little better and better. So whether he's a rookie or a 12, 13-year vet, we got to make sure that they're all coached up the same.
Eric Barnett was involved in another big. I think it was Eric Barnett involved in another big, strip sack fumble thing. What has his progress been like since you guys drafted him, and where is he right now? That was one of the big plays of the game, I thought.
Yeah, great play. This kid just keeps getting better and better. Been pleased with how he works in practice. He's an unselfish ball player. He'll play special teams if you ask him. He'll rush the passer if you ask him. He does so many great things, and we're so excited to have a player like Derek and a young player like Derek who can play extensively and work in the rotation. Just seems like somewhere in the game, 96 is going to show up, and make a play, and he did that several times today.
What was the message to both Carson and the locker room?
I just congratulated Carson just on the win. Nothing further than that. Really, just we found a way, make it work, and we won, and it's to be proud of. And for the team, it's a matter of just we got to just learn from our mistakes. I really feel like good football teams find ways to win, and we've been able to do that in tight, close ball games. We've been able to figure it out and win, and that's a tribute to the guys in the locker room. And so that was kind of my thoughts after the game to them, and to enjoy it, and we're right back to work on Tuesday.
Okay.
Thanks, guys.
All right, so that's head coach Doug Pearson. Again, we're going to hear from quarterback Carson Wentz in just a little bit, but game ball for me here goes to the Eagles medical team for making sure that Carson Wentz had the right amount of time being sidelined before he was thrust into action and able to do the things he did on the field today. So certainly the Eagles made the right call from that standpoint, taking a few extra weeks into the season, although Carson Wentz wanted to be out there for the season opener. We all wanted to see him against Atlanta, but the Eagles doing right by him, not just for the short term, but the long term as well, to make sure they give him the best chance of recovery and a long career here in Philadelphia. So something that's not lost today, seeing him spin and escape from defenders, because while he may be maturing in the way that he's attacking defenses and not, going for the run each and every time, he was not afraid whatsoever to use his legs, and a couple times in that first quarter where he's making spin moves to elude defenders and get extra yards.
Yeah, and let me just say this, and I've said it several times before. Carson Wentz probably could have played 2 weeks ago.
Oh, certainly he could have played.
If he's doing what he did today, you can't tell me that guy couldn't have played 2 weeks ago. He's out there as if it's been a full year since he's been injured. He's diving for first downs. He's avoiding sacks. He has guys hanging on his legs. He still refuses to go down. He's completing passes. How about the one sack where they had him in the grass?
Darius Leonard has him.
And he's trying to get out of that. Yeah, he was trying to get out of that play. So, but no doubt about it, they did right by him, by his career, by holding off a few extra weeks, even if that meant we were going to have to wait for him a little longer. And I know it was tough on him because he was so eager to get out there. But, man, watching him play today, wow. He does not look like he's suffering any type of ill effects from that injury. He was out there, and you saw the full repertoire of Carson Wentz out there today, from the athletic standpoint, from the arm strength standpoint, all of those things, his ability to extend plays, his ability to make the magical play where you think he's going to be sacked and he somehow gets out of it and finds a guy for a big reception. That has to have all Eagle fans feeling good, because that was one of the things I wanted to see more than anything. Certainly it was important for them to get the win, but watching Carson Wentz play today and see if he was going to be out there favoring that knee, see if he was a little gun shy. None of those things. He was able to hang in the pocket, take big hits, and he was off on a couple of throws, but that's just rust. That was just a rust factor. All the adrenaline going, that type of thing. That was totally to be expected.
And there's Carson Wentz in the Kelly Green.
How about that
Let's
jacket?
send over to the link.
Back on the field, and how do you evaluate your play?
Yeah, I mean, I felt good. I felt good to finally be out there. It's kind of a long time coming, obviously, a lot of excitement, a lot of emotions, but coming out the way we did with that hot start, going right down the field, going some no-huddle tempo, I felt good,
Carson, with that no huddle and tempo, is that something you requested? What did that give you guys at the beginning of the game?
Yeah, Doug and I talked about it early in the week, and thought it would be something just kind of get me started, get the offense started, get us all starting fast. And he trusted us with it, and obviously the result was a good one.
Carson, the turnovers at the end of the game, do you attribute those to rust or just poor decision making?
Just decision making. I mean, the interception, the guy made a great play. It's a route we throw to Ertz all the time, and he just read it well. And I gotta be smarter with that one. The other one is unfortunate, stepping up in the pocket, getting it hit. You got to clean up those things. Obviously, you never want interceptions, fumbles, especially when you're backed up like we were. Put our defense in a couple tough situations, but they stepped up and played a good football game.
The game-winning drive, 17 plays, but a lot of them you guys were behind the sticks. A few players said that you brought them together at one point and said, had words of encouragement, I guess. What was the message you wanted to convey to the guys there?
Yeah, I mean, just in the middle of a drive, especially in that situation, I think it was just we had the sack and then the holding, I think it was, and it was all of a sudden 2nd and 30 or something like that. And I just told the guys, let's get half of this. Let's get at least half of this, get us in 3rd and manageable, and just stay together. Everyone was kind of, all up in arms over the holding or whatever it was. And I said, hey, just stay together. Let's stay on track. And next play, we had the defensive holding, picked up the first down, and then we were rolling.
You weren't able to get very many big plays today. Was that with the frustration set in at all, or did you kind of expect that coming in?
Credit the Colts defense on that, honestly. I thought they played, did some things different than we saw on film, and really just forced us to drive. They played a lot of soft zone coverage and forced us to take a lot of things underneath. So really credit the Colts defense, and at the same time we just played our game and we put people in the right spots. Obviously you saw us with a lot of 2 and 3 tight end personnels out there, so that's kind of part of the game plan, knowing what the Colts like to do.
At any point were you thinking about your knee? I mean, you dove at one point on the sideline. Were you thinking about the injury at all?
Not at all.
In the second quarter, when you made that dive for the first down, can you describe that play? And is that indicative of your willingness to play with the same abandon you played with before you got hurt?
Yeah, I thought it was just a normal scramble to me. Obviously made a guy miss in the pocket, and saw the first down marker and dove for it. Pretty standard for me.
What did Dallas Goedert show you today?
Yeah, I think with Dallas, he's shown me, first of all, he's a smart football player throughout training camp. And then, being able to go the no-huddle stuff and getting him in different situations, getting him in different spots, making calls at the line, checks at the line. He was very instinctive and good football player, and obviously came up big with a couple plays.
How was it managing emotions leading up to this game after such a much anticipated debut?
Yeah, I thought it went pretty well. I thought obviously emotions were running high from the moment I woke up this morning, but for me, I was just putting on worship music and just getting in the zone like that. Just felt like another game at the end of the day.
How did you feel to get your first hit today? You bounced right back up. How'd the nerves calm down?
Felt great.
How did the running game help you today? It looked like that was a real focused effort too.
Yeah, the running game was huge. We had a lot of no-huddle kind of checks at the line based on what we were getting coverage-wise, and they were playing a lot of soft zone coverage. So, the running game helped us a lot in the passing game. And, obviously we're down a little bit with Sproles and Ajayi out. So getting Wendell, getting, Josh Adams going, and then Corey, I think those guys all stepped up and played a good football game.
As a follow-up to that, all the skill spots are pretty far down the depth chart. What effect is that having on the offense overall?
Yeah, I think that's just kind of football. That's part of football, and then I think that's where good coaching comes into play and getting our best guys out there. Obviously you saw us a lot with 2 and 3 tight end personnel out there tonight, and I think that just was indicative of those injuries and just finding a way to just get our best guys on the field. And coaches does a great job always just scheming things up, getting the right guys in the right positions. And so, unfortunately, you don't want injuries, but at the end of the day, you got to adapt with them. And I think coach has done a good job with that.
The game it seemed like you guys had trouble getting the ball to Aguilar, but on that last drive, 2 third-down conversions out of him. And both were with yards after the catch. What were the plays? You have the 3rd and 5, and there's a 3rd and 9, and what did he do to make this possible?
Yeah, at the end of the day, obviously Nelson today obviously didn't get a bunch going early, and that's just part of it. It's not something by scheme or design. It's just their coverage, and like I said, we had to take some things underneath, and the tight ends, all of them, kind of stepped up and played a good football game. And on third downs, those ones late in the game, Nelson just always has a feel and being in the right spot, and so he's a guy, especially like him and Zach are two of the main targets that we look for on third down, and he stepped up there at the end.
How much did watching your defense stop them in the red zone? How much did that fire your offense up?
Yeah, I think we both feed off each other. Offensively, seeing our defense just continually step up late in games like they have, even going back to last year and then the first game of the year today. Just that gives us a lot of energy and excitement on the offensive side, and knowing that if we just put one together, now that defense is going to get a hold, and that's what they did.
Was there a play or a hit that you took where you said, okay, shoot, I'm relieved now. I know I can do this. There were a couple times where you got hit, a couple scrambles you made, a couple times you were very elusive in the pocket, left, right, left, forward, that sort of thing. Did any of those register like, hey, that's great?
Not really, because at the end of the day, I've been doing so much in practice, whether you guys saw it in training camp or I was off to the side with the trainers or whoever. I've been doing so much of that stuff for a while now. Obviously, getting hit was new, but it felt like riding a bike, getting hit and popping back up again.
Your teammates have mentioned different times in practice, different plays where they said, all right, Carson's back, there's going to be no limitations. Was there a play like that for you in the past, 3-4 weeks?
I don't think so. Nothing really sticks out. It was a lot of going against the defense as a scout team quarterback. That was a little new for me, but I felt good for a while. It was just good to finally get out there.
Carson, you mentioned how much is it to get this first one all the way for you? How much is it important to get this first one done and just be now back on focus?
It was huge. Obviously it's huge to just pick up a win in a hard-fought game with some tough conditions out there. Guys really rallied around each other. The resilience I thought was huge today. We had, like we talked about, that long drive at the end. We had some really unfortunate situations we were in second and extra long, third downs, the fourth down, a couple things. And guys just stayed together. And then the defense stepping up at the end, that was huge for us to get us back on track.
You mentioned soft zone a couple times. Looked like a lot of cover, too. This was an emotional game for you. It's 9+ months. Was it kind of a little bit harder to not want to press and seeing that cover too?
Not really. I like to think I'm mature enough as a player to just take what they give me. Obviously, they had some that might have fooled me coverage-wise and kind of tricked me a little bit, but that's football. That's football, and that comes with it, and that's a good defense over there.
Was there anything that you were curious about that you, how you would respond that today sort of told you, or anything you got learned that you did not know up to this point?
Not really. Not really. I think once I got back out there, I got that first incompletion out of the way, kind of threw that one down the field a little aggressively. We were rolling from there.
Thanks, Carson.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
All right, there's Carson Wentz, stylish with that Kelly green jacket. I'm telling you,
I need that jacket. I need that jacket. That's pretty.
We'll make it happen this week.
Man, that's pretty nice. He's a little bigger than I am, so he can't give it to me.
But that's perfect. A little bigger, you can tailor it down. That's what works out perfectly.
You can't mess up a jacket like that, man. Man, he had his A-game suit on.
Certainly
today.
did.
Yeah.
So we've heard from Coach Pearson, we've heard from quarterback Carson Wentz, and we're going to have analysis from Fran Duffy and Greg Cosell a little bit later on in the show, as well as an interview with tight end Dallas Goedert, who led the way with 7 catches and getting his first career touchdown. Going back to Doug for a quick minute, I love how you talked about coaching up the young guys, and so that when guys like Josh Adams and Smallwood and Perkins are in similar situations later in the season, they're going to be ready for the moment. And I feel like that's probably the one silver lining of having all these guys in and out of the lineup right now is you're getting the guys a valuable experience just in case if something happens to Alshon down the line or Darren Sproles again or what have you, these guys can step in and be ready at a moment's notice. And I guess really when you look back to last season, it's one of the reasons why the Eagles were so successful.
Yeah, this isn't college. You're not on scholarship, so you're going to play if you're active, and you have to be ready to play. I made my career in this league for 9 years, having to be ready whenever called upon. And you don't know when it's going to happen. Guy can go down in practice. Guy can go down the first series of a game. You have to be ready to go. And like Doug said, if he's going to activate these guys on Sunday, then he's going to have to trust that he can use them. Or why activate them? Because he doesn't know when they're going to need to be out there on the field. So I like the fact that he puts the responsibility, first of all, on the position coach, guy like Deuce Staley. And you know Deuce is coaching these guys up hard and letting them know, hey, when your opportunity is called, you had better be ready to go. And kudos for the coaching, getting these guys ready to play this week. And then hats off to the players for going out there and taking advantage of the opportunity. When you're young and you're playing for a team with high expectations and you got a guy like Carson Wentz set to make his return in the league, sometimes you can play mind games with yourself, right? You can put more pressure on yourself to not try to screw up out there. But it looks like all three guys were calm, certainly poised, and didn't have any real mistakes out there. They took care of the football.
Number one, on a rainy day.
I don't remember any drops by any of the guys out there. So, you know, Wendell Smallwood had a big catch down the field. Josh Adams gave us a nice change of pace back, had some big runs, especially in the first half. And then Corey Clement doing what he typically does when he gets his chance to run the football, running hard, picking up key first downs. Got a nice group of young running backs that you can rely on.
The thing with Smallwood, and Coach Peterson was asked this during a press conference, well, why Smallwood? Why do you have such a big role? Coach was like, he had no other option.
Right.
You know, and that's the reality of the situation. But Smallwood, who has been through the ringer the first couple of seasons in the league where he's been set back by injury and maybe it's kind of limited his ceiling here in the NFL and some question whether he was going to make the team coming out of training camp. Well, he got his moment and he stepped up. And again, some hard-fought yards after contact. That was the biggest thing. That nice catch on the wheel route, very, very impressive. You really haven't seen much of that out of Smallwood's game. So he stepped up in a big way when the team needed him most and delivered the game-winning touchdown. So that's going to be a special moment for him on his mantle. Now, what's great is we're going to look at the highlights later on tonight and realize, look, we can enjoy that the Eagles won, okay? Yeah. During the game, you know, we're glued to the TV, wonder what's going to happen, drama unfolding there at the link. But the two men who captured the action brilliantly, as they do each and every week, Merrill Reese and Mike Quick, the Hall of Fame duo. Let's listen to the highlights through Merrill Cam, presented by Sports Radio 94 WIP.
It is second down and about 8.5. Three receivers once again with Ertz in the slot inside of Aguilar to the far side. Wentz back, looking, stepping up, firing. Touchdown! He's got Goddard. He's got Goddard, the rookie, with his first NFL touchdown.
Save that ball, kid. Hold on to that football. Listen, this is Carson Wentz at his best. He's going to look to the left, and if you watch that middle safety, he holds him over to the middle of the field, knowing full well he wants to drill the ball to the rookie Goddard, hits him right down the seam for his first NFL touchdown.
33-yard attempt, exactly the same as an extra point for Elliott. Spotted, kicked up, and good, and the Eagles take the lead. 2nd and 11 for the Colts at their own 36. Hines to the left of Luck, who steps up. He is hit and carried backwards to the 25. Cox and Barnett.
Yeah, there's a whole posse meeting at Andrew Luck in the backfield, and they get him down.
Here is Elliott with a 24-yard field goal to tie the game. Spotted, kicked up. And it is good, and we are tied. Wentz in the gun. Motion. Aiken. Give. Smallwood. Up the middle. He's in. Touchdown. Eagles take the lead.
Boy, you put it on the back of those bigs, and the bigs just blow the Colts off of the football. Smallwood, just a burst to the end zone for the touchdown. The Eagles go up.
This is a very important extra point. A very important extra point because it would give the Eagles a 4-point lead with 3:02 remaining. Okay, here it is, the game on the line. 4th and 3. Luck backing up pumps, he is hit, he stumbles, he's down, and the Eagles take over. The Eagles take over on downs as Luck pounds the ground. He is pounding the ground in frustration as Derek Barnett, who came up with the sack in the Super Bowl, has just won another game.
Listen, he has come up, Derek Barnett has come up big all afternoon, but none bigger than this play. He beats the tackle around the edge, and he gets to Andrew Luck, gets him on the ground, and boy, oh boy, this may be the biggest play, well, since his Super Bowl sack.
Jacoby Brissett to try to throw it into the end zone. Former Patriot. He's back. He's being chased. He's running. He's running. He is looking. He loads up. He is going deep, and it is batted around. Incomplete. The game is over. The Eagles win.
We got a lot to do here.
Well, it went down to the final play.
Well, that's the National Football League. I'd rather have it that way.
Oh, that's fun. when it's over and the thing worked out. What a win. It was a gutsy win.
Yes.
I love seeing Merrill there with the Hall of Fame jacket. Mike Quick had it on pregame for the halftime ceremony where Seth and Clyde were inducted. Gets rid of it as soon as he can.
Yeah.
Wasted no time whatsoever. But again, defense helping win the day on a day when Seth and Clyde are inducted into the Eagles Hall of Fame. And Ike, as a former linebacker yourself, your thoughts on their play over the years, especially that of Seth Joyner, who was named, if you remember, the NFL's defensive player, no, not just defensive player of the year, the NFL player of the year in 1991.
Yeah, I mean, and Seth has a strong case to being in Canton, Ohio, as an NFL Hall of Famer. So obviously these guys are a part of the rich tradition of playing here in Philadelphia. We know what they've meant to this organization. We know what they stood for when they played in the 80s up to the early 90s. And I just remember growing up as a kid in Cincinnati, Ohio, my introduction to the Eagles was that defense. It was Reggie, it was Clyde, it was Seth, it was Jerome, it was Eric Allen, it was all those guys. That was my introduction to the Philadelphia Eagles as a football team, and it was because of that defense and the way that they played. And so for them to finally get their just due by being being inducted into the Eagles Hall of Fame, what a great honor. Couldn't be happier for two guys, and I know it means a lot to them because they gave it their all. They left whatever they had in them out there on that field at the vet. And those other players that played alongside Reggie White and Jerome Brown sometimes get overshadowed because of how great Reggie and Jerome was. But guys like Eric Allen, all those guys, man, just great players. And Seth and Clyde, I believe, are the final two from that defense that is deservingly that should
yes.
be in the Eagles Hall of Fame.
Yeah, there's that infamous picture of all five members, the
Yeah.
Pro Bowl members from that gangrene defense, and they are the last two to go in. And you mentioned players getting overlooked. Clyde Simmons, look, he had 19 sacks to lead the league.
Think about that, man.
By himself, okay?
Yes.
He did that third in franchise history. To this day, third in franchise history. It's Reggie, it's Trent Cole, Clyde Simmons, okay? You can have someone who is arguably the best of all time on the other side. You're going to get your one-on-one matchups, but you still got to win those battles.
Yeah.
That doesn't matter, and Clyde did just that, and it was great because they were both late-round guys. I believe 8th and 9th round consecutive selections by the Eagles. Buddy Ryan knew they weren't addressing the defensive spots too high, said they liked what they saw from the athleticism standpoint. They would fit in with that 46 defense, and they came in, they won jobs. Actually, Seth Joyner was cut, was home in New York for 2 weeks, in upstate New York, and then called by Buddy Ryan and said, you're starting in week 3, and that was it. Seth Joyner said, from then on, I'm not going to be on the bench. I'm not going to have someone else dictate my NFL future. I'm going to be in control. You're not going to outwork me. You're not going to out-hustle me, and I'm going to do what I need to do to be on the field. So congratulations to both of those guys. So one of the stars of today's game, the rookie tight end Dallas Goedert. Dave Spadaro had the bold prediction pregame that Goedert will have a big outing. I'm going to take a little bit of kudos. I said in our pregame show, kickoff show presented by Exalta, that Goddard would be on the receiving end of Wentz's first touchdown of the year.
There you go.
So I'm going to go play the lottery, and if you don't see me next week, that'll be why. But in the meantime, check out this interview with Dallas Goedert and Eagles insider Dave Spadaro.
Your career, 7 catches, 73 yards. How'd it feel to really be part of the passing game today?
It felt really good to be out here, Obviously, anytime we get a win, it feels a lot better. So everybody really played well. Offense, defense, special teams. It was a good team win. It was a lot of fun out there.
Tell me about the touchdown.
Carson did a good job getting the play right, ran my route, and he threw it there, and there wasn't a lot of people there. It was pretty cool. Really fun feeling. Glad to have the first one out of the way.
How was it playing with Carson Wentz?
It was really good, We got a lot of good quarterbacks on the team, but, when he's out here, he runs the game. Whatever he sees, he likes, he'll switch to it. So you got to be paying attention, but it's really fun playing with him.
Congratulations, Dallas. First touchdown of a very long and very successful.
It's very rare where you hear fans cheering for Dallas, okay?
Right.
But we're going to get used to that
I'm
here.
still not used to it. I call him Goddard more than I do Dallas. I just call him Goddard.
That's the truth.
Yeah,
that guy, the guy that's not Zach Ertz, a tight end, pretty much, is what you'll say. So great outing by Dallas Goddard. Now, is he one of the nominees for the Toyota Player of the Week award? You're going to have to find out after this break. Ike and I will break those down. We'll also have film review courtesy of Greg Cosell and Fran Duffy. However, if you are following us right now on Facebook or Twitter, you need to come on over to PhiladelphiaEagles.com or the app to watch the rest of the show. We'll be back after these messages.